at least a year. Then she wanted to move to North Carolina, and that was another court battle, so to speak. And it's hard to start a relationship when you're in the middle of this turmoil.
Cross country.
Exactly. And so that, your whole world is in limbo, and all your money is being drained out, all the savings and investments is getting drained. So you're essentially starting over from scratch after losing everything. And that's what, after I spent about $35,000 in legal fees and court costs, they asked for another retainer of $7,500, and I decided, you know what? I fired the attorneys, quit my job, let her move down, and I came down 3 weeks later.
Sounds like a step of faith, huh?
Yes.
I think this is so important for the viewers to hear what you're saying is we have to be aware of our season in life. If we're going through a mess like that, as a woman especially, and I know that I try to do too much sometimes, I think that I can do everything. Yeah, I'm homeschooling my children and doing all this other stuff, and then I'm trying to do this and that, and my husband looks at me and is like, what is wrong with you? Or my mom looks at me and like, are you crazy? But just like you were talking about, hey, I wasn't trying to start a relationship. You were very aware of your season in life, and you have success. You had success through that and had victory because you were willing to live in that season. It can be very hard to do. So I'm glad you said that.
I just felt like my world was not stable. I had no way to predict the present, the future, next week, next year, and I felt in my head that I had nothing to offer anybody else, so why enter into a relationship? I would simply be a leech or an ornery, crabby human being, partner, whatever you want to call it.
Good call. Okay, so what happened next? You take this huge step of faith, come down to Charlotte. So did everything turn around perfect right away?
Things have been rather smooth since I've been down here. There was a little bit of rejection from the Southerners first as to why I moved down here. That's where I learned that term I used earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But after I told them the story of why I was here, and that I was a Midwesterner, they accepted me little by little. And I landed a job as executive chef of the South Park Suites Hotel, which is a South Park hotel. It's no longer there, but I landed a job as a chef of a hotel in South Park, right behind the mall, and my ex-wife was working in South Park at the time, not too far away, and I was able to see my son regularly, and everything was just back to probably the best it's ever been, as far as up to that point.
Right.
And we were rated Charlotte's best hotel while I was there in 1999 and 2000. So I was very proud of that accomplishment, except they went up for sale and they sold.
Oh no.
To another hotel chain, and that other hotel chain came in and said, thank you very much, we're bringing in our own crew. And once again I was on the street. However, I was smart enough to think, while I had that job and it paid well, maybe I should buy a house, because they look at your present income and the past career trends. And using that, I was able to secure a house and buy a house in Matthews. And that was the beginning, I would say, of my rebuilding process, was when I bought a single-family home in Matthews.
Very cool. I like the term you just used, rebuilding process. So what would you classify what you went through before that? If the rebuild, what was that before? If rebuilding didn't start.
Rebuilding didn't start. I've never dealt with attorneys and court cases and things like that before, and all the fighting. I've never been in that type of an environment. I was fighting to survive financially, fighting to survive emotionally, fighting for what I felt was right in visitation and all these different areas that a divorce entails. And again, I didn't feel I had anything to offer. I was trying to make money and fulfill my need as a dad financially, pay my bills, things like this. But until I bought my house, I didn't feel like I really was stable or had my
Right.
roots
That
dug
hierarchy
in.
of needs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't dug in. You know, any man who, in my opinion, when you once own a home, it's hard to go back to an apartment later. And
My
then,
husband's
unless you're tired of yard work forever or shoveling snow up north forever, once you own a home, it's hard to go back to an apartment.
That's really why you moved down here, isn't it? You didn't want to shovel snow anymore.
I didn't know, but I appreciate it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to live in northern Minnesota, and I am very glad I don't have to shovel because the kids are the ones that had to do it. So I was a kid up there, and the parents were like, "Get out there and go shovel the snow." I'm like,
You bet.
"That's right." No, you betcha.
Yeah, sure, you betcha. Right.
So, okay, you're down here in Matthews now. You're beginning to see this new glimmer of hope,
Right.
this new glimmer of light. And obviously, this hotel's closing, so you have big change on the horizon. And before you answer that, actually, one of the things I wanted to know was, how did you sustain, like, emotionally through all of this? Because these are some major chaotic times that you went through. And how are you able to continue to stay motivated, keep putting your next foot forward through all of this? What were the things that sustained you?
I can think of three immediately. I subscribe to an inspirational magazine that comes out monthly that has inspirational articles, which I read. I went to church every Sunday, leaned on Christianity and the teachings there, tried to always do what was right and make the correct decisions. And I leaned on some mentors, whether those mentors were my close friends or my close friends' parents who were divorced once many years earlier, or the people who had known me of an older generation, the people who had known me when I was a kid, a teenager, 20s, etc. You need to seek out guidance wherever you can find it so that you don't make silly decisions, stupid decisions, react with too much emotion, things like that. So I leaned on those three.
Very good, very good. Yeah, support. I tell you what, more than any other thing that we hear on this show is support network, support network, support network, over and over again. I don't think I've done one show where we haven't talked about that in some aspect. So if you're joining us, just know that it's very, very important. Support network.
Sometimes when you're going through this, it creates a certain amount of depression, and I think one of the common attributes in anybody's depression is that you feel like you're alone out there.
Yeah.
You feel like you're the only one with this whirlwind of problems. Why me, Lord Jesus, why me?
Yeah.
But I think you'll often find that a number of other people have gone through it and have dealt with it in different ways.
Yeah. So what are some of the other ways that you dealt with it? Because I remember you telling me a couple other things, and how when you were just really in the kind of despair and the depression that you were able to use some tools that you had to kind of lift yourself out of that?
Well, if what I like to do, I'm a sort of a halfway musician, and I play guitar. And sometimes when I felt down or I felt lonely and I had nothing to keep my hands occupied, nothing to be busy with, again, when you're in an apartment, you have no yard work to do, like when you're in a single family home, things like that. So I would pick up my guitar and I would play for an hour, hour and a half, and while you're playing songs on guitar, while you're playing music, you choose what style music. If you're a good guitarist or you have a wealth of songs, you choose which style songs you want to play. But while you're playing, you can let the world just go by. And an hour and a half later, you feel sort of revived just by playing the music and singing.
Yeah, I was actually doing that on the way here today. I had Toby Mac in and Hillsong, and my children have really turned me on to Toby Mac, and so it's kind of, I always wonder what the people driving by are thinking of this, like, mom in a minivan, like, rocking out to Toby Mac in the car, but...
Mom in a minivan rocking out.
That's right.
Who would have thunk it?
Represent.
Yeah.
So yeah, finding an outlet like that. And it may not be guitar playing or music for everybody, but music is powerful. I don't know anyone that music isn't powerful to, but art or anything that just that creative outlet that you can just plug into, and like you said, just